The Zuni witch trials, shapeshifters of the Southwest, an anthropologist witnesses ancient trials of accused shapeshifters who bring illness and destruction in the desert night. Long before the term Skinwalker entered popular consciousness through Navajo tradition, another Pueblo culture maintained its own complex system of beliefs regarding malevolent practitioners who could assume animal form. Deep in the pueblos of New Mexico, the Zuni people preserved an ancient tradition of identifying, prosecuting, and sanctioning those accused of wielding supernatural power for harmful purposes. What makes this tradition remarkable is not merely its existence, but the unprecedented documentation of its actual practice. Frank Hamilton Cushing arrives at Zuni Pueblo in 1879, sent by the Smithsonian Institution's Bureau of American Ethnology to conduct fieldwork among the indigenous peoples of the American Southwest. Unlike most researchers of his era who observe cultures from a distance, Cushing makes an extraordinary decision. He commits to living among the Zuni not as an outside observer, but as a participant in their daily life. He learns their language, he adopts their clothing, he participates in their ceremonies. Over time, the community grants him something almost unprecedented for an outsider: formal adoption into the tribe. This adoption opens doors that remain closed to every other researcher of the period. Cushing gains access to the inner workings of Zuni society, including aspects considered too sacred or too sensitive for outsider observation. Among these restricted domains lies the tradition of witch trials, proceedings conducted according to protocols that stretch back into antiquity. The Zuni concept of witchcraft bears striking similarities to the better-known Navajo Skinwalker tradition, yet operates according to its own distinct logic and social mechanisms. Zuni practitioners accused of witchcraft are believed to possess the ability to transform into animal shapes, traveling under cover of darkness to visit harm upon their victims. These are not abstract theological concepts debated in the realm of pure belief. These are specific accusations brought against specific individuals, detailing specific acts of supernatural aggression. Cushing documents actual witch trial proceedings as they unfold within the community. The trials follow established protocols, presided over by community leaders who serve as judges in these supernatural courts. Accusations arrive with detailed specificity. A man falls mysteriously ill, wasting away despite all conventional treatments. Community members point to a specific individual as the source of this affliction, claiming this accused witch sent the illness through supernatural means. Crops fail in one family's field while neighboring plots flourish. The affected family brings formal accusation, naming the practitioner they believe responsible for directing malevolent power against their harvest. The proceedings Cushing witnesses operate according to rigorous structure. Accusers present their evidence, detailing the sequence of events leading to their suspicion. They describe strange occurrences preceding their misfortune. Unusual animal behavior near their homes, unexplained sounds in the night, the presence of certain individuals in places they should not be. The accused defend themselves, offering counter-explanations and challenging the evidence brought against them. The shape-shifting element weaves throughout these testimonies. Witnesses report seeing animals behaving in ways natural creatures would not, displaying intelligence and purpose that suggests human consciousness inhabiting animal form. A coyote circles a dwelling repeatedly, always returning despite being driven away. An owl perches near a window night after night, watching the inhabitants with uncanny focus. A wolf appears in locations where wolves have not been seen in years, always in proximity to the family experiencing misfortune. These observations connect to specific individuals through a logic the Zuni tradition has developed over centuries. Community members note who was absent from their home when the strange animal appeared. They track patterns of enmity and conflict, identifying who might bear ill will toward the afflicted family. They observe coincidences that, according to Zuni understanding of supernatural mechanics, reveal causation rather than chance. The trials determine guilt or innocence through methods that make sense within the Zuni worldview. Evidence accumulates, patterns emerge, community leaders deliberate, weighing testimony against their knowledge of tradition and precedent. When they reach judgment, consequences follow with serious finality. Those found guilty face sanctions that range in severity according to the perceived magnitude of their transgressions. Social ostracism represents the mildest response, isolating the convicted witch from community participation. Physical punishment follows for more serious offenses, administered according to protocols that balance punishment with the possibility of redemption. In the most extreme historical cases, executions occur, removing practitioners deemed too dangerous to remain among the living. Cushing documents these outcomes without romantic embellishment. His writing, published by the Smithsonian in his work, Zuni, Selected Writings, in 1882, presents the material with the clinical detail expected of institutional scholarship. Yet beneath the academic prose lies something profound, evidence that supernatural belief systems operate as actual social mechanisms with real-world consequences. The accused in these proceedings do not face abstract judgment. Their reputations, their physical safety, their very lives hang in the balance. The stakes transform belief into material reality. Whether or not the accused actually possess supernatural abilities becomes almost secondary to the documented fact that their community believes they do and acts upon that belief with organized purpose. Counter-witchcraft measures form another component of the documented tradition. The Zuni do not merely punish accused witches, they actively work to neutralize supernatural threats through protective ceremonies. These rituals follow established protocols, conducted by authorized practitioners who serve as the community's defense against malevolent power. Cushing gains access to these ceremonies as well, documenting their structure and purpose. The protective rites operate on the principle that supernatural attack requires supernatural defense. Physical remedies cannot cure illnesses sent through witchcraft. Conventional agriculture cannot restore crops destroyed by malevolent intention. The community must engage the threat on its own level, deploying spiritual power to counter spiritual aggression. These ceremonies involve specific elements assembled according to precise requirements. Sacred objects passed down through generations play their designated roles. Prayers in the Zuni language invoke protective forces. Participants arrange themselves in patterns that hold meaning within the tradition's symbolic framework. The ceremonies unfold over hours, sometimes extending across multiple days when confronting particularly severe threats. What distinguishes Cushing's documentation from other anthropological accounts of the period is its movement from the theoretical to the actual. Many researchers collect stories about belief systems, recording what communities say they believe. Cushing documents what the Zuni actually do when those beliefs demand action. He provides names, dates, specific accusations, detailed proceedings, and recorded outcomes. His work transforms abstract cultural study into concrete historical record. The parallel between Zuni witch tradition and Navajo Skinwalker beliefs emerges through comparative analysis. Both traditions feature practitioners who assume animal form. Both describe supernatural attacks manifesting as illness and misfortune. Both maintain protocols for identifying and responding to these threats. Yet each tradition develops these shared themes according to its own cultural logic, creating distinct systems that serve similar social functions. The Zuni trials Cushing documents demonstrate that these traditions govern actual community behavior. They provide frameworks for explaining misfortune, identifying responsible parties, and taking collective action. They establish boundaries of acceptable conduct and consequences for transgression. They create mechanisms through which communities regulate themselves and respond to perceived threats. The documentation also reveals the social complexity embedded in accusations of witchcraft. Not everyone who faces accusation is convicted. The trials include provisions for defense, for challenging evidence, for alternative explanations. The system, while operating from premises modern Western thought might question, nevertheless incorporates elements recognizable as judicial process, presentation of evidence, deliberation, judgment rendered by authorized officials. Cushing's unique position as an adopted community member provides him access no other outside researcher could achieve. The Zuni share with him what they guard from casual observers. They permit him to witness proceedings that define the community's relationship with supernatural danger. They trust him with knowledge that in other hands might be misused or misrepresented. His published work stands as the most detailed record of an actual indigenous witch trial in the American Southwest. While other researchers collect stories and describe belief systems in general terms, Cushing provides specific cases with specific details. His documentation moves beyond abstraction into the realm of historical fact. These trials happened, these accusations were made, these judgments were rendered, these consequences followed. The legacy of this documentation extends beyond its immediate ethnographic value. It demonstrates that supernatural traditions operate as actual social mechanisms with measurable effects on community life. It shows that belief systems translate into organized action. It provides evidence that what might appear to outsiders as superstition functions for practitioners as practical response to perceived reality. The Zuni witch trials documented by Cushing represent a window into how indigenous Southwestern cultures understood and responded to supernatural threat. The shape-shifting practitioners at the center of these proceedings, whatever their actual nature, commanded sufficient belief to trigger formal legal proceedings. The tradition maintained such strength that communities invested significant resources in identifying, prosecuting, and sanctioning accused witches. More than a century after Cushing's documentation, the Zuni tradition continues, though its practice has evolved through contact with outside cultures and changing social conditions. The fundamental beliefs persist, transmitted through generations who maintain connection to ancestral understanding. The shapeshifters still move through Zuni cosmology, still represent danger that requires vigilance and response. Cushing's work preserves a moment when these ancient traditions operated with full social force, when witch trials followed established protocols, when communities acted collectively against supernatural threat according to wisdom accumulated over centuries. His documentation stands as testament to a complex belief system that governed real lives and produced real consequences in the pueblos of New Mexico. If you found this case compelling, subscribe to Vanishing Roads for more documented paranormal investigations from around the world. This story was created with AI assistance based on documented case files. All events reference real investigations and reported incidents.